Hey, welcome to Graphic Policy Television, GPTV. I'm Brighton. In my hands is one of the recent releases from Marvel Comics. This is Fallen Angels, collecting the 8-issue miniseries that came out a while ago. So, to put it in the time frame, this is Magneto is in charge of the school. New Mutants are the old school New Mutants. And Jamie Madrox and Severin are kind of fairly new characters to the X universe. Same with Moira McTaggart. So obviously this is released because we got the new Dawn of X series called Fallen Angels, and this doesn't really have much to do with any of that so far, but it's an interesting piece of history. So the story is that Roberto Da Costa winds up injuring Sam Guthrie in a game of soccer, and then runs away like a little child, thinking that no one cares about him and he did wrong, and decides to head to New York City. Warlock runs after him. Jamie Madrox and Severin get sent to go try to fetch him and bring him back. And then Da Costa, Sunspot, winds up in this group called the Fallen Angels, who's head up by a Vanisher, who's kind of this like artful dodger, Oliver Twist thing going on. It is really bad. This is just not, wasn't enjoyable at all. So written by Joe Duffy, pencils by Kerry, Gammil, Mary Severin, Joe Staton, anchors Tom Palmer, Val Mayerik, and Tony Dezuniga, colors Petra, Scotese, letterers Jim Novak, Bill Oakley, LP Gregory. This is a really actually interesting concept, but like it just the comic itself does not hold up after all these years. I mean, going back and reading some of the older stuff, like a lot is done in dialogue. There is so much dialogue thrown in a lot of things. This has that, but it also feels like it just re-emphasizes things way too much, and just the dialogue for Sunspot, it seems bizarre. He keeps on repeating that he's a 14-year-old kid. I mean, I can't even count how many times he said he's 14 years old in the 8 issues. And then he has just strange, like, adult-like patterns of speech. Yeah, so, like, this is kind of an example. You have never been more dear to me, my friend, but I am not fit to touch you. Leave me to my life as an outcast, a pariah. And then he goes, you know, my friend, it has just occurred to me I still have a little unfinished business connected to that beating I just received. It's just like this really adult speech pattern for someone who is supposed to be 14 years old and kind of keeps on saying that he's 14 years old. Like, I understand he's also, you know, English is kind of a second language, or potentially second language because he's not originally from the U.S., assuming it's a second language. So, you know, sometimes speech patterns might be a little bit different, but this is just like, he's trying to talk like he's Captain America, is the kind of the way I can think of. It's just really bizarre. A lot of the other characters, I think, are written a little bit better, but even then, they've got some strange speech patterns as well. Like, the dialogue just does not fit. Things are overly explained. It's kind of boring at times. And the story is, I wouldn't say predictable, but it just kind of just meanders and goes on and on and on. It doesn't feel like there's a point to it all. It just kind of goes with this weird group. Think like this is kind of feels like the original kind of like Exiles and Ecstatics and all that, just that weird tangent to be kind of weird at times. You know, it's an interesting nugget, and you can kind of feel like reading it that there's been some bits and pieces thrown in there that have paid off like years later, and just like different concepts that kind of spun out of this that might have taken a look at it. But as a whole, it's bad. I can't recommend it. It feels really, really, really bad. I mean, it's painful to read at times. I mean, the art it's classic of that time. There's something kind of cool about revisiting some of these earlier characters. You got Boom Boom, who, you know, later went on and joined X-Force, was pretty big. Devil Dinosaur's in here. And Vanisher himself was part of X-Force at one point, and a version of X-Force as well. So I mean, Da Costa, Sunspot is kind of a big deal in New Mutants right now. Of course, you have Fallen Angels, the comic series that's ongoing in Dawn of X, so I see why this is released, but this is maybe one that should have stayed in the vault it's a little painful. I can't recommend it. There's some extra stuff. You know, it does have some stuff from, I think, Marvel Fanfare. Yeah, so it's got some interesting history. They used to be called the Misfits, was the original idea. So there's some backstory to it, back matter about the characters and who's going to be in it. It's just, there's like original Boom Boom if you want to see some history. So beyond the history factor, it's one I'd skip. I can't recommend it. It was painful to read. Like, seriously, it was painful to read. It felt like a chore. It's out now in comic shops. It'll be out in bookstores soon after that overwhelming, enthusiastic endorsement. You can go get it if you want to. There's a link beneath this video. You can put in your zip code to tell you if a shop's near you. No shop, no problem. We do have affiliate links. They're affiliate links, so we get a small percentage of that by doing that. You help support our site, so thanks. And speaking of support, I want to thank Marvel for hooking us up with this review copy. We always appreciate it, and thank you for watching. Now, if you're into X-Men, if you're into Marvel, if you're into comics in general, check us out every single day at graphicpolicy.com or on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Tumblr. All at Graphic Policy, keeping it nice and consistent. So until next time, keep reading those comics and keep it geeky. Hey, thanks for watching the previous video from Graphic Policy Television. Just by watching, you help support our site. Thank you so much. Now, if you're watching these videos, you probably care about geeky things like movies, television, comic books, toys, games, video games, you name it. You can go and subscribe right now to our YouTube channel to stay in touch and catch all the new videos, or check out our website at graphicpolicy.com. There's a nice link on this end of the video. But as always, thank you for watching. Keep on rocking and keep it geeky.